Thanks, Wayne. All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. This is a policy committee meeting on February 27, 2004. And we'll start with executive session was needed last Tuesday. We had two regarding contractual issues. And we'll go into the pledge. Keith?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Mummert, if you take attendance.
Mr. Galazella.
Here.
Mr. Gelsinger.
Here.
Mr. Leidy.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
4 present, 0 absent.
Okay, moving on. Hearing persons who wish to address the board regarding agenda-related items. Do we have anyone signed in? I didn't get a, did anyone sign in? We haven't, no, if I can just ask. Did anyone want to speak on, okay. All right. And so now we'll move on to number 6, discuss and create policy 216.2 relating to student records, name, sex, and gender identity. So I'll start us off by saying we have engaged in special counsel. Thank you, Jeff. Okay. We engaged special counsel with Independence Law, and Mr. Samix provided us with legal counsel and policy that we're here to discuss today, and that we're going to be adding that as policy 216.2 to our current 216 policy regarding student records. So today's about student records, specifically name, sex, and gender identity. And it's attached to our agenda. If any members of the public want to read it in its entirety, it's attached as a attachment, so you can go through it all. So just straight from that, the purpose, the district maintains official records for each student that includes students' legal name and sex. The district recognizes that accommodation requests to cease being addressed in one way and to begin being addressed in another way may necessitate accommodation of others' conscious rights, and therefore seeks to provide reasonable accommodation in both directions when such interests come into tension. This policy also ensures the fundamental right of parents to direct the upbringing of their children is respected, and that the material information about a student's mental, emotional, or physical health is not concealed from parents or guardians. The district recognizes that parental guardian involvement at the earliest possible time promotes the best outcome for students' mental, emotional, and physical academic success. And I am going to briefly go into all the board members have read it, but I will highlight that moving forward, it gives a definition of sex as sex is defined as the biological distinction between male and female based on reproductive biology and genetic makeup. Sex and biological sex may be used interchangeably. An eligible student is a student or former student who is 18 years of age or older, or a student under 18 who is legally emancipated. Gender identity is defined as means an individual's identification with their sex, the opposite sex, both or neither. And legal name is defined as the name reflected on a legal document such as birth certificate, state or federal issued identification, passport, or other court order substantiating the student's change of legal name. So the suggested policy we're discussing today goes on to basically establish, based on those definitions, how we manage accommodations for parents and kids that want to seek an accommodation. And this board has, I can guarantee you, all the members here have thoroughly read this backwards and forwards and looked at it under their own auspices. And I've asked each one to provide their opinion, and I'll ask them at this time, not their opinion, but I've asked them to come today to provide their opinion. So is there anything that we need to discuss related to this policy at this time?
I think the policy is written very well and is complete the way it's being presented today.
Okay.
As far as the wording goes and the presentation from the attorney, I was very impressed the way that his wording of protecting students, protecting parental rights, things like that. The references in there in the policy, like if you look up Troxel v. Granville, that was back in the year 2000. And in that, the primary holding in that ruling was there's a fundamental right under the 14th Amendment for a parent to oversee the care, custody, and control of their child. So this policy supports that, which is very important because parental rights have been voted against many times over the last 2 decades, all over the country, all over the state. So the wording of it, I believe, is very, very specific to not be divisive, to support parental rights, and to make sure that everyone is being protected. And in this case, not only the children, but the parents. So as far as the wording goes and the references to Section 23 of Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes, that's in there, that court ruling, everything is referenced as to what supports the wording of this policy. So I don't have any objections to it as it is written right now.
Yeah, the biggest thing, it also protects the teachers. There is a paragraph in there for those of you who did read it that allows the teachers to, if they choose not to refer to somebody as according to their gender identity, they may choose to refer to them as simply their last name if it goes against their personal beliefs. So I think it covers just about everything. There was a couple and/or, shall, must, those kinds of things, but I think they've all been worked out.
Dr. Burkhart, did you want to add anything in reading it, or?
I shared with the board on several occasions. I feel the policies we have in place are sufficient. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll concur with the fellow board members. I think this is a good, it's a good way to handle things. I think it does provide accommodations and, while at the same time reaffirming a parent's right to decide how to handle their child. And it gives teachers support as well. So if that's all the discussion, I would suggest that we move to a committee vote to present this to the full boards for support, unless anyone else has anything else.
The same. I
Second.
support going forward.
Okay.
So I second that.
Okay, so we'll make the motion by Mr. Smith and a second
I'll second.
by Mr. Gelsinger. So if discussion is concluded, then we'll go on to a vote to support policy 216.2 and present it for adoption by the full board. Yes, tomorrow.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. Gelsinger,
Yes.
Mr. Lady,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
4 yes, 0 no.
Okay. So we'll have that on agenda for tentative adoption tomorrow. And we'll move down to other. I don't believe we have any other business. Okay. And then visitors, anyone want to be heard at this time? Yes, sir.
My name is Bob Curlin. I'm a resident here in the school district.
Mr. Girl, I don't mean to interrupt you, sir. Is there a green light? I'm not sure that's on. Oh, it's on.
Okay.
I apologize. Thank you.
No problem. This new policy, how does that relate to federal guidelines would be one of my current questions. And how is that different from the current process that you have in place? Those are my 2 questions.
Okay. Do you want to ask? We have a small enough crowd. I think we can answer as we go.
Currently, the policy is absent on, whether or not a student can request or not request to be referred to by a certain pronoun. The parent rights that are outlined in this are not, they're not delineated as clearly. And I said earlier that sufficient policy I feel is in place, but I will say that anytime, I do believe we should continually look at enhancing parent rights and keeping them informed. So with that part of the policy, I do agree that if we're lacking in that, that's something we definitely need to get better at. As a parent myself, I would want to know what was going on. So I think that clarity is added there, but to your specifics about what's different in our current policy does not call this out specific to what the way it is here with reference to a pronoun, and it gives the latitude to the family and to the teachers to refer to them appropriately. As far as federal law, sir, I can't answer that. I'm not familiar with that. Let me put it this way, I'm not comfortable or an expert to answer that.
I did see there, it's Jeremy Samick with Independence Law.
Okay. And our own current council,
If you don't mind, sir, step up to the mic so everybody can hear you.
our own current council couldn't have dealt with that?
So we did address this in prior board meetings,
I
basically,
heard it before.
so we did engage with Stockton Leader for opinion regarding several of these issues, and the board didn't feel like they presented an option that sufficiently dealt with everything, so we did put out bids to have discussion with special counsel.
I believe I can add on to what Dr. Burkhardt said. In the absence of several of these things in policy, in this particular policy, if you go online and read it there, it specifically outlines accommodations that are requested by parents for students as far as gender identity and pronouns and things like that go. There was no policy that covered that previously. So this particular one specifically outlines accommodations and the process as far as that goes. There was no policy for that. And as we saw last year, there was no bathroom policy either. There was a complete absence of any policy to be there. And as we move forward in society here, we have to make sure that all children are protected and all parents are also protected in parental rights. So this particular policy does outline accommodations and accommodation requests and how to do that. And it's very clear wording, and that's why I said I'm okay with the wording as a board member myself, because we didn't have anything for that before. So that's the way I see it there.
Anyone else wish to be here? Yes, ma'am.
My name's Joanne McVie, and I'm a Penn Township house owner. First of all, so what did this extra attorney charge for fees?
It was all pro bono,
It
ma'am.
was pro bono?
Yep.
Okay. Second thing is, I'm all new to this pronoun thing. I'm 70 years old, so it's just over my head. So let me ask you this. So if a kid comes in and they're a girl and they say that they want to be addressed as a mister, is that what you're saying?
So that
Is
would
that
be-
what
That
happens?
would be one of the scenarios covered by the policy, yes.
Right. So then they have to have something signed by their parents in order to do that. Wouldn't that be done like automatically as soon as they decided that they weren't?
I would urge you just to look at the policy in place. It covers all of it. It's very, very in-depth. It's online. I don't want to get into every instance of our policy.
Well, I was just trying to understand how that works.
I mean, 'cause we're opening up a can of worms. When
Mike,
you're
Mike.
addressing the board, you're addressing the board.
Yeah.
This isn't supposed to be a question and
right.
answer session.
Oh,
So
okay.
you make comments to the board, we hear it, we take it to the rest of the board, and the rest of the board votes.
Generally, it's public comment. I was going outside the bounds of normally how we operate our public comment.
All
This
right.
is
Well,
a
it was
time for you
just
to
a question I had,
understand.
so I thought you could
I
answer. All
understand.
right. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
know, am I allowed to comment? I'm not a resident, but I'm a 33.25-year teacher, plus I represent a community organization.
I wish I could say yes, but no. We have very strict policy on who can speak and who can't. So Anyone else?
Can I make a motion to allow her to speak in this instance? Would that, do we have that in
You
policy?
can make a motion for anything.
As a longtime teacher of the district, I mean, I'd like to make a motion at this time to allow Dr. Lynch to speak. If anybody would second that.
All right, so I don't think anyone's going to affirm that.
No, it doesn't carry, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Lynch, I would love to hear in an email from you. However, I am a very strict person with policy. So we have a policy and I respect your opinion and I'd love to see an email, but we do have a policy for those things. So that I'm not doing that out of disrespect, just to make it very clear.
Thank you. I'm Kit Curlin, also resident of Southwestern. Both kids graduated from here and currently have a grandson. And I did not get to read a policy because I couldn't find it. Dr. Lynn showed me where it was. And of course, in here, you can't get anything to download. So I will make sure that I read that before tomorrow night's vote. And I wish I could share with you what Dr. Lynch wanted to share. And I appreciate you inviting her to write an email. My concern is I do need to read it, so I can't really speak to it yet. And, the little things that I'm hearing, put in my ear, my concern is, yes, we have a pro bono attorney that you are seeking guidance from. But when this goes too far and we as a district get sued, those monies are coming out of my pocket as a taxpayer. And so I just, to quote Dr. Lynch, we're going down a slippery slope here. And the last thing I want is a policy that's then going to get us into the national news and make everybody aware of what we're doing. And if it isn't, following those Title IX guidelines the way they should be, and we have parents that can now sue us or students, I think it's something we really need to consider. As an educator, I don't think this is my priority as a policy. I heard you say that there's, we took care of the bathrooms, now we're taking care of the pronouns. What about the drugs? What about our reading scores? What about, the content of our curriculum and how we're furthering our students' preparation for the world past graduation? I really would like you to reconsider what policies are your priority. And I think before we are concerned about what pronoun we're going to allow a child to use, we need to be concerned about their mental health. And what are we as a district doing to help these children be accepted and other children's see what their life is like as a minority in this district? Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else? So, all right. Hearing no further comment, if anyone wants to respond briefly, they may, but I think we're going to have a more robust discussion tomorrow night to cover most of these issues. So
We will definitely have a more robust discussion, but I just wanted to be clear that Independence Law Center is a nonprofit. So they, even future litigation is covered by them at no cost to the taxpayer. That was very important when looking at certain policies. So there is no cost to the taxpayer for representation there. So.
okay, hearing no further people that wish to address the board, I believe we're
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
And all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned at 2:19.
Hey, it was nice seeing you again. Same here.
Mr. Murmur, do you want to leave the nameplates out for tomorrow? They got some.
Yeah, it's been a lot of.
I locked us out. Yeah. We do it to Sal's Pizza does it. But I own a business. I'm not there. How are you guys? I'm not gonna have any. No, you're so bad. Somebody might say, hey, dude, what's it about? Oh, you gotta go see it.
Yeah, it's not.
Mr. Mummer? You didn't eat all of those. You were right. Told you, I started to tell Matt the joke. Everybody wants to do it. I'm like, I feel the same way. Oh, drunk.
Well, what we could do, Jay, is we could do a whole milk and cookies with nightcaps after we hit like 10:30, right? We could do
Yes.
that at nighttime.
I support that.
But yeah, so to your earlier point, I'm all about rearranging that agenda to get the administrators in front so they can meet if they want.
And it's really only the second, because the second meeting is when they submit the reports. First meeting is just typically your planning meeting, then give reports. And usually they're not all there, it's just a representative sample, but if that hits time,